is a new publication of again, this is called The Economist. Now, I'm going to pull this up here so we can look at this together. You're going to see this on your screen, and I want you to see the visual of this. Now, keep in mind, this is like the crystal ball, if you would, of the elites. This is what they perceive and what they see coming in the year ahead. And they do this every single year. Take a really close look at what you're looking at here. Notice here all of these symbols of war. You've got tanks, you've got rockets, you've got missiles. You can see the AI robots involved. If you look carefully, you'll even see syringes. What is that? Is that pertaining to vaccines? Is there a pandemic coming? You see, all through this, you see these indications of, and look at the fist up here at the top with the handcuffs on it. You see all these indicators of civil unrest, distress of nations, wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, plagues, wars, kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation. Look, and if you look at the very center of this, you got the two swords crossing each other. So there's a lot of stuff here that these, again, as we said, these economists and these elites, they all know, they all perceive and they know what is coming ahead, because a lot of this is manipulated in order to bring about a collaborated effort to further their agenda. The Economist has been around since 1843, but it has never had a very large readership among the general population. Ultimately, it is a publication by the elite and for the elite. Let me say that again. This publication is typically by the elite and for the elite. According to Wikipedia, it has editorial offices across the planet, but is primarily based in the city of London. Many of the wealthiest families in Europe are among the shareholders of the company. Among them is Sir Evelyn Robert D. Rothschild. You ever heard of the Rothschilds? Was actually the chairman from the early 1970s to the late 1980s. Again, I'll pull this back up here. When you look at this, when you look at the cover of this, there's things that stand out. For example, you see Zelensky is clearly visible in the upper right-hand portion of the cover. You can also see President Xi, you see Vladimir Putin, and you see Benjamin Netanyahu, who appear to be depicted on the left-hand portion of the cover. And just like last year, Donald Trump is right in the center. All this consequently, as this past Monday, Trump refused to rule out any possibility of sending U.S. ground troops into Venezuela. Quote, asked if he would rule out U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, Trump replied, no, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela, he added. They dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country from prisons. According to Michael Snyder, he did a little commentary on this, and he said, if we go to war with Venezuela, a large portion of our military forces will be tied up, and our relations with the rest of the world will greatly suffer. In other words, this could turn into another Vietnam. And Trump is also suggesting that military strikes in Mexico and Colombia could be coming. Also, don't forget, he also hinted at sending military force into Nigeria. President Trump hinted at being open to sending military troops to Mexico and Colombia in order to stop drugs, sending chills across the region. The president made the comments during a recent press conference on Monday as he hosted a meeting with FIFA president and the White House task force on the 2026 World Cup at the Oval Office. Quote, would I launch strikes on Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. Let me back up here. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? You know, there is almost no drugs coming through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%? This is all a direct quote from the President of the United States. However, on the other side of the globe, meanwhile, conflicts between Israel and Iran are set to erupt again. It looks like Ukraine is just going to continue to escalate, and China, no doubt, will be right dab in the middle of this as well. Now, when we go back to the cover of the magazine, it appears that there's a chart that seems to depict some set or sort of financial crash right under the crossed swords. Look at the crossed swords on your screen. Right under it, it looks as if there's a chart that is indicating some type of financial crash. Now, here's what's interesting about this, guys, is I don't know if you've been keeping up with what's going on, and if you haven't, this is why we do these programs, to get you informed of the times and seasons which we're in. There's a lot of red flags and indicators that are going off right now that are not good. For example, let me pull this article up. This is from the Daily Mail. A recession is already here for 23 states in the United States. Nearly half of all U.S. states are sliding into recession as the national economy tries desperately to stay afloat. That's the stark warning from Mark Zandi, who is a chief economist at Moody's Analytics, one of the world's most watched independent economic firms. His grim assessment comes after major corporations slashed more than 150,000 jobs last month. This is the biggest October total in more than 2 decades. Now, that's in light of, again, the 3 giants, Walmart, UPS, and Amazon, all slashed thousands of jobs during the Christmas season, which is unheard of. A sticky inflation, dwindling home construction, layoffs at factories, and flatlining wages also contributed to the bleak picture. This state-level picture mirrors the national trend. The U.S. economy is not in recession, but is struggling, quote, to avoid one. Zandi's team analyzed a raft of data, including household employment, industrial production, retail sales, and building permits, to sort all 50 states into 3 groups: recession or at risk, treading water, and expanding. The results were bleak. 23 states. Let's look at this chart here. Okay. So all of the red, everything that you see on this chart, and again, I apologize for this, guys, on Apple and Spotify. This is one of them occasions where it'd probably be good to come over here and watch the visual of this. But there's a map of the United States, and in the red, you can see that these are already in recession. And, of course, my state is in there, the state of Georgia. You got Washington, you got Oregon, you got Montana, you got Wyoming, you got South Dakota, you got Minnesota, you got Iowa, you got Kansas, you got Illinois, you got Michigan, you got Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, Virginia, Georgia, and Mississippi, all in the red. Those treading water are Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, California, I think I said that already, California, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Alaska, Montana, they're treading water, California, Nevada, Alaska, New Mexico, Colorado, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Ohio, New York, and Vermont. Those are all treading water.